is Passion for Your Passions, a podcast where we talk about all sorts of things that make life worth living. I'm Krista.
And I'm Julie. Today, we're talking about traveling.
I am so fucking itchy. God. And then Julie has the gall to just scratch right in front of me.
So loud. Well, can you not scratch? Is that the problem?
It's
or just...
I'm just like itchy in the weirdest way.
I'm going on an adventure!
I wish to see the world.
Do you think we're wealthy? Wealthy people drive fancy cars and ride fresh monster. Do we do any of those things? No. Wealthy people can afford to have their vacations through. No big deal. They just pick up and they go again.
So today, we're talking about traveling. And to start with that, why are we talking about traveling? Why did we decide this topic for Passions for Your Passions?
Because we're depressed, because we're usually traveling right now. It's my stupid Facebook memories. They're like, do you remember when you traveled? Like, yes, I do. Thanks. This isn't helping because I'm not traveling and I haven't traveled, bitch.
Do you remember when you did things?
Like, they were great.
Do you remember when you got to go to places and pretend to be a knight? Or go to anime conventions and pretend to be a weeb, or actually be a weeb.
Just be a weeb in a new place.
To be a weeb amongst friends.
Yes. No, did I tell you, we went to like an anime con recently, because they had one near here like a month ago. I got trapped by a weeb. It was a horrible time. This person, oh my gosh. There was something off about her to begin with. But like, she made some comment in the mass crowd of people or whatever, and I reacted, and she found me and wouldn't leave me alone. And I was like, oh my god, how do I tell this woman to go away? Like, I don't understand. I'm trying to be nice. Like, she brought out her iPad, and she's like, yeah, so my friend who does all this other anime, like, I'm in love with him. And, like, she just wouldn't shut up about her life. Like, it wasn't even... And then I would tell her, like, yeah, I don't know that anime you're talking about. Oh, okay, well, let me, like, I'm like, shut up! Like, and then I'd be like, oh, my friends are leaving me. Oh, okay. And then she'd walk with me, and I'm like, I'm going to lose my mind. Like, I'm going to snap at this woman.
What was she so, like, why was she so into you? Like, what happened
because
exactly?
I noticed when I thought about it after I escaped, I had seen her do the same thing to other people. Like, because she was wearing, like, a very particular outfit, so she's easy to spot, which is easy to avoid after you realize you have to avoid her. I remember, like, in passing, seeing groups of people, like, yeah, like, awkwardly trying to escape her. So I think it's because she came alone, and she just, I don't know, like, just needed people to talk to.
Yeah, it's, that, I mean, yeah, that part of it can be hard, especially, like, you don't have people, or, like, you don't have, like, a thing to go to meet people. That does happen for some people. I don't know. I've gone to cons before, but, like, normally when I've gone with people.
Yeah, I was with a group of people, and she still, like, singled me out somehow. She said she was with her mom. I was like, well, you need to get back to her. I don't want to keep you from her.
You came with her. Wasn't she gonna notice?
Isn't she gonna miss you? Like...
Okay.
I finally escaped when she's like, well, did you want to see my cats? For the love of God, no.
I have to go.
I have to go.
Okay, so back to traveling, because this wasn't far traveling. So
that's all we have.
Why did you, okay, well, so we already asked, like, why do we want to talk about traveling? But, like, what is kind of, I guess, like, our personal perspectives on traveling? So, like, I can start with this, because I haven't really said much about it. That, you know, for me, I love traveling a lot, and part of the reason is because since I was very young, I liked traveling. I'm not really, like, entirely sure what it is, but, like, when I was a little kid, I would, like, look at maps, and I had, like, books that would, like, talk about places, or I would read books that would take place in Italy, or, like, all these places, and I was just fascinated with it, like, from a very young age. Like, that was, like, the thing when I was very young, was I was like, I want to go to Italy, and that was, like, a big deal to me. So, like, I don't know, there's just, like, this thing where ever since I was very young, I've loved culture, and I love, like, very beautiful things. Like, I think we've sort of talked about this before, but, like, I used to paint and draw and like this and that, so like I do have just like a love of like things that are beautiful. So
Who doesn't?
well, some people don't. I mean, you know, where we come from in the land of corn, we do know quite a few people who would never travel at all, ever.
That doesn't make any sense to me when I talk to those people. My brother's one of those people.
Yeah?
Yeah, he's just like, no, I wouldn't, like, there's no point. I get everything I need here.
Older brother or younger brother?
Older.
Okay. So the younger one would, though?
He does. Like,
Okay.
but his is more family oriented, not like adventure seeking. But his one weird thing, anytime he's on vacation, like anywhere he goes somewhere new, even if it's just for work and it's a hotel, he goes running the first day. Like he has to figure out the terrain or something, I don't know. Mom says he's done that since he was a kid. She's like, well, that's weird, whatever.
Since he was a kid? Like, he
Yeah.
would just go run around and
go
your
running.
mom's just like, okay,
Not my problem right now.
don't get stabbed or, like,
That's kinda like-
kidnapped or...
Mom's like, are you bugging me? Then I don't give a shit. What are you doing?
Yeah, but I mean, we know plenty of people like that. I mean, I've known plenty of people like that in my life. Like, I've known people, like, who are just not interested in it. And I mean, I think around here, the big thing is you'll get a lot of people who will go to warmer climate. Not that it's, like, the coldest here. We have seasons where we live. But it does get fairly cold in the winter, and so, like, a lot of people will like to go somewhere that's warmer. That's pretty common. But, like, in terms of, like, people wanting to go to Italy, that's not necessarily the most common where we're from. I would say maybe it's, like, 50-50.
Well, it's a perspective issue, I found, because, especially in this area, a lot of people see certain things as literally just the wealthy, or, like, they automatically shut it off, because they're like, well, I don't want that, because I can't have that. And they get... I've had this happen with stupid shit. I was talking about artichokes with someone. Oh, well, I can't afford that. I'm like, it's $1, motherfucker. Like, why are you yelling at me? Like, what do you mean it's too fancy? It's a fucking plant. Like, I don't understand why this is, like, a rich person thing all of a sudden. We work the same job, and I'm eating artichokes. Like, so...
Yeah, no, and I mean, you can figure it out if you're willing to try, if you're willing to do things in, like, a slightly different way. Like, I know because, I mean, maybe this is, like, jumping the gun a little bit, but, like, Julie and I went to Italy together, and one of the things that we did is, I also know that this is a bit taboo to talk about right now, but Julie and I went on a cruise. And part of the reason that we did this was because, like, to go from place to place, and we went to quite a few different places, it worked out money-wise, and also it's a place to stay. You get food at least, so, like, you know, if you can't figure it out for whatever reason, there is a place where you will get food.
You always have food there.
Yeah, and a place to sleep, and, like, you know, so that part of it, like, you just don't have to worry about. Like, you could go to the place and, like, figure it out, and I've done this before, and, like, part of the reason is it kind of helps, too, with, like, if you go to a place, you can be like, do I like this place? And then if you do, like, you could go back and, like, feel more confident about it.
Yeah, because I went with Krista, and then my parents also went, and we were separated a little bit where we spent more time in Italy and in Barcelona, aside from the cruise. So you can also do that. You can just tack it on. If you know you're like, I'm going to spend a week in Italy, I don't give a shit what this cruise does, then that works. Like, you can tack that on. And like she said, you don't have to worry about where you're staying. The communication barrier is not an issue because you'll just go back to the ship and be like, all right, like, I obviously don't belong here.
Yeah.
And then, like, food, like she was saying, you'll be surprised at how quickly your money goes away, especially when you're in places that are so vastly different. You're just spending money on stupid shit because you get excited in the beginning, and then towards the end you're like, oh, whoops, I shouldn't have done that. And so you don't want to have to worry about food, like, oh, well, I guess I'm eating jerky?
I think my husband and I had this happen when we went to Venice, because I remember, like, wherever we were in Venice, like, the situation was just kind of confusing, like, when it came to food. Like, we tried to, like, look around and, like, kind of figure it out, and I think, like, we ended up going to, like, a shop, but then that was also like kind of confusing because like it's not the same. Like it's not equivalent to how it is in America. And so like when we were looking at some of these places, we were like, I don't like understand like this food, and like when you would go to a store, it would like be like a very small amount of food, which is fine. Like I mean, I've definitely been to stores like that, but it was like we were like having trouble because it's like you would go and I can't really like remember all of it right now, but like I guess like the best example I could be is like it would be like, oh, there's like only like pasta. I'm not trying to say that because it's Italy, but it's like I can't do anything with this. Like
I need sauce. I
yeah,
need
yeah,
like, I don't know.
anything.
Yeah.
So and it was like that was kind of like the problem we were having is it would be like milk. And it's like, well, what am I gonna do? Like I can't just like buy a jug of milk. I'm only gonna be here for a day. Like and that was like
It's too much of a commitment.
yeah. So.
Yeah. But having the cruise as your backup makes all those kind of concerns or issues very light. Like, you might have them for a second be like, alright, I'm just going back to the boat. Like,
Yeah.
fuck that shit. Come out. So I definitely think if you're, like, on the fence about cruises, it's a good idea for countries you're not familiar with if they have a nice cruise. And it's pretty cheap when you get down to it, honestly.
Yeah, it's... So, I mean, okay. Here's the thing, is like... there's a lot of different things, and maybe we could like come back to this. I don't know. We'll kind of see how this conversation goes. But the thing that like you have to remember when you look at a cruise price, which I think some people forget this, is that you're not worrying about the hotel and you're not worrying about the food. Like that's all in there. And I know we just said that, but like that, like I think sometimes people forget about that when they look at the price of it. Basically, when you do a cruise, the only thing you have to worry about is getting there. So, like, for us, we went to Barcelona, and we went from Barcelona to Venice. So that was all we had to worry about, was how we were physically going to get to Barcelona, and then how we were physically going to get from Venice. That was it. All the rest of it, we paid for in that ticket for that cruise.
Right. And this cruise went to multiple countries and, like, multiple ports. So... that's all that airfare you don't have to spend on. You don't have to rent a car because you're just going place to place with the boat. Like, it eliminates a lot of expenses. And like I said, when you're in another country, those can get very tricky and weird. And like, even just food, you're like, this is just pasta. Like, I can't do anything. Yeah. And that's just a comforting, at least for your first time. Obviously, like, you can always go back and relive a different experience. But for a first time, it's nice.
Yeah. And I guess, like, what I was gonna... I don't know. I'm trying, like, to figure out how much I want to talk about this topic.
Still itching.
Yeah, I'm so itchy. That, like... Because this is, like, kind of a thing, I guess, like, that sort of gets more controversial. Because I know that there's a lot of people who, when they go to a country and they want to, like, travel and experience a thing, they want to, like, be immersive.
Backpack.
Yeah, and that's, like, I am not... saying anything against that, but I think for some people that is a lot. And I mean, if you want to do that, like, more power to you. Like, I think that is great, and I think that's a totally awesome thing. But like, I think especially
as
you know,
like,
I don't speak Italian.
Yeah.
Like, it would take a considerable amount of effort for me to learn Italian. It's not that I couldn't do it, but like, it would take a lot. And you know, maybe it's not the most convenient for everybody to do that kind of stuff. And I don't know. I think obviously be respectful wherever you're gonna go. Make sure you're not doing stuff that's like stupid. Don't like deface, you know, some of these memorials and things that have been around for thousands and thousands. Don't do stuff like that. But like, so long as you're being respectful, I don't see any problem with, you know, taking a cruise or taking a tour bus or all of these other different things that people will do. I see no problem with it. So that's where I stand.
Well, to kind of branch from that, one of the reasons why I travel, since we didn't get to that,
Yeah.
to kind of bridge it all together. One of the reasons, other than I just find traveling by myself as a woman in a country I don't know is a little too far. Like, that's just security-wise, that makes me uncomfortable. Even though I know I could crush a lot of skulls, it's just like I'm not familiar with the terrain or the people, and I'm all alone, kind of thing. So I know a lot of other women feel that way. But on top of that, the reason why I travel for the most part, other than I love sightseeing, I love food and nature. Like, that's my two main things. It's like, I want to see all the natural sights and I'll eat all this delicious food. Is that it's how I relax. Like, it's my release for the year. Because I'm a type A person. I'm working. I'm always doing stuff. I have a hard time relaxing. So then the vacation is like scheduled relax time. And if I'm backpacking across Europe, as much as that's going to, like, if I take a year off of my life, that's great. Like, I can see people who do it between high school and college, like, perfect idea. But, like, today, if I wanted to do that today, it would be horrible. I'd be miserable because I'd be so exhausted. I feel like I never rested, and when I come back, I need another vacation for my vacation. Like, that's just a lot. I mean, I wouldn't regret it and all that other stuff, but it's still just like, I didn't really relax at all. I just constantly worked and moved and did all this shit.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely depends on what kind of person you are, and I mean, if you're gonna do something like backpacking too, like, you probably do really kind of at least have to have somewhat of a grasp on the language. Because if not, like, there are places in Italy where people will not speak English. And I don't know what to tell you. You come to one of these stores where they only got pasta and milk.
You're suffering.
You just figure it out.
Well, they have, like, all the apps now. And what I found funny is a lot of the times for, like, cabs and stuff, if they didn't speak English, you just show a picture and they nod and they take you there. And you're like, sweet, like, it worked out. And then one of the guides that we had for the Dolomites, he learned all of his English from being, like, the guide. So his dialogue describing everything and fun facts and everything was spot on. Like, perfect English, perfect grammar. And then anytime you try to talk to him, he'd just stare at you, be like, hold on. And he'd take out an app on his phone and he'd write words in there and then have it say it for him and stuff. Like, and he asked us a dozen questions. He's like, okay, so what's this? What's that? Like, he'd ask us how to pronounce things. Yeah. And it was really funny. And, like, he and my dad started talking about motorcycles and he had to look up a phrase and then he had it play. And my mom and I stared at each other while him and my dad laughed. I'm like, all right, biker thing. Like, I don't know what that was. So, I mean, definitely with technology, I'm sure it's easier. But to Krista's point, it's just one more thing that could completely ruin your entire day or life if, like, you're in a really weird situation. But
yeah, and you just gotta feel really comfortable doing it. And like I said, more power to you if you have it. I don't think I quite have that. I think there's a couple places I could do that. Like, okay, like if we went to, like, Great Britain or in Ireland, yeah, that's not gonna freak me out too much. Like, I think it would be fine. And even in the parts where they don't speak English very well, like maybe parts of Ireland, there's some of that. Like, I think I will be okay. I would survive. But yeah, there's other places in the world where it's like I would just feel very uncomfortable not knowing the language and just, like, trying to traverse. It would. I'm just not the type of person for that. No. But anyway, let's talk about, I guess, like, our past traveling. You know, was there anything that we did? You know, I mean, even, like, we could talk about stuff, like, from when we were kids, if there is anything.
Okay, see, that's where we differ greatly, because I grew up hella poor. Okay. So, like, vacation was, we're camping because we couldn't afford the electric bill. Like, that's... So, when you were talking about your love of traveling, like, it started when I was a kid. I was like, dude, I hated traveling when I was a kid. It was a punishment. It was a bad day. Like, it was not a good thing.
Well, I didn't travel a lot, though, when I was a kid. I mean, like, there was, like, a few special things that we did. And I think, like, once I got, like, a little bit older, we started to travel more. Because, like, when I was younger, my family situation, like, it wasn't the best. Like, we didn't really do, like, whenever we did things, it was a lot of, like, saving and, like, this and that. Like, I think probably, like, one of the ones from, like, when I was a young kid was, like, we did go to Disney. But, like, that was, like, kind of the one thing we did for, like, a long time. And then I didn't really travel, except for maybe, like, if my whole family would get together or something, we would go to Florida. Maybe, but, like, even I don't really have, like, very solid memories of that.
Yeah, I just moved around a lot. That was my traveling. So.
And, you know, not paying the electricity.
Yeah, and just, you know, not affording electricity bill.
Yeah, so one of the places, like, I kind of remember going, well, there's two things, I guess, I could talk about, like, from trips when I was younger. We went to Niagara Falls, which, one thing I will tell people about Niagara Falls, from my opinion, you could go there for one day. It is not worth it to stay there any longer. It's so boring to be there any longer. Just the thing that I'm gonna say. I'm not gonna, like, sit here and say that Niagara Falls isn't worth it. It's very pretty. Like, it's cool, but, like, you don't need to be there for, like, a whole week.
It's water, people.
Yeah, like, you're gonna get bored of it after, like, 2 days max. I'm just saying. Okay, so there's that. The other place that I went that I do have pretty good memories of is I went to Washington, D.C., which that one, that's kind of, like, a classic one. And, like, okay, obviously I could understand, like, why some people wouldn't be interested in it and some people would. I would say there are some places there that are very historical that are just interesting from that kind of perspective. Like, I liked going to see some of the presidents' houses because, like, they have them very well preserved. It's like I find that thing kind of interesting, like, as somebody who is into, like, kind of, like, fantasy or, like, historic, like, I think it's, like, interesting to, like, see how people lived back and, like, certain points in time. And then they also have, like, some really good museums. Like, I know everybody talks about it, but, like, the Smithsonian is fucking dope. So I don't know what to tell you. It's, like, massive. It's literally, like, almost like Disneyland or something, but, like, a museum.
But history.
It's so much. So yeah, that one's not necessarily for everybody. I'm just saying, when I went there, I did generally have a good time.
Yeah, I guess I technically travel a lot, but it was never vacation-esque, so I kind of don't count it when I was a kid. So I guess the only trips I have are as an adult, really, which I wanted to note, like, your two favorite trips I was on, so there's a correlation.
Yes, I think, which I don't know if I guess I didn't really put one of those in here. I did also, well, okay. I guess since we just mentioned it, I guess first of all, maybe we should just talk about, like, what our favorite trips are, like, as an adult. I mean, one of them we've pretty much already talked about was that we went to Italy. And we went there 3 or 4 years ago. And
so long ago.
Yeah. It was really good, and I will say, for me personally, my favorite thing that we did was going to Sicily, which, if you're aware of what Italy looks like, there's the boot, and then there's, like, an island. Sicily is the island. It's, like, kind of separate. It's weird. It's still Italy, but, like, they kind of consider themselves separate, and they sort of speak Italian differently. But it's so freaking beautiful, and so, like, we didn't go to the same place when we went there, but we basically went kind of, like, up on the mountain where my husband and I went, and, like, where we were, like, that was the first time. Okay, so I talked about this earlier about, like, how, like, I paint and draw and, like, this and that. And so where we are in the land of the corn and place, I don't think is a very beautiful place. This is a thing I talk about with people very often. Like, I don't think where I currently live is very beautiful. And I remember when I was in high school, like, being in art classes, and they would be like, we're gonna go outside and, like, paint this random field or, like, whatever. And I'd be sitting there doing it, and I'm like, man, I hate this. This isn't, like, any fun. It's not pretty. Whatever. Why do people do this? Like, why is this, like, a thing that famous artists do? And then I went to Sicily, and I was on top of that mountain, and, like, you could look to the left and see, like, 100 miles away, and you could look to the right and see, like, 100, like, as clear crystal day, and, like, the most perfect blue waters you've ever seen ever. And it was like, I was like, oh, this is why people paint their hometowns, because people live here.
Not in the land of corn.
Not in the dirty brown land of corn. Where it's just brown and corn. And the green isn't that pretty either. It's like, whatever. It's like, whatever green.
That stupid green.
Yeah. Well, because when we went to... Okay, so spoiler alert, one of the other places Julie and I went together was Seattle. Like, that is like a whole different kind of green. It's like spectacular. It's like a freaking emerald all around you. I mean, there is no green like that where we live.
In my garden full.
Well, I'm not saying it's impossible. It's just you look out in the woods and it's boring green. Not the good kind.
I hate it here. It's just like,
I love it in Seattle and I love it in Sicily.
I hate it here.
This is why I travel.
So I can leave the land of corn and dirt.
Okay, so what about you though? Because I mean, you were part of this Italy trip. Do you want to talk about what your favorite place was?
Well, my favorite place was also separate from you.
Okay.
So even though we did this trip together, our favorite parts were without each other, I guess. So my favorite part was the Dolomites. My favorite part was the Dolomites when my parents and I took a tour up there, and it was lovely. I found a village that I would live in. I was like, I won't go back on the ship. I'll just stay here. They won't know. It's fine.
Yeah.
Because this little village is kind of nestled within the Dolomites. I think it's halfway up or something like that. I know you go up a bit before you get there, but you're definitely not towards the top. And, well, the funny thing about this village is that it got decimated by multiple natural disasters. Which one person survived, all of them? I was like, damn, dude.
Wow, what a lonely guy. Wow.
Because it was a tsunami was one of them. And they were kind of we're in the fucking mountains. That shouldn't have happened.
God.
And he was the only survivor. And he wrote a book because it happened again, a couple decades later or something.
Was he the only one who survived the second time?
And he wrote a book.
Oh my
It
god.
was this crazy thing. Despite that, I still want to live in this village because the swallows were all over the place. And the poppy fields, and they had this dam to, I guess, prevent more tsunamis.
They developed a natural fear.
Yeah. They had, the water from there was crystal. It was beautiful, and that's where all the bugs were, so that's where all the birds were going. And then they said that the water that they drink has more nutrients in it than most water, so the people there usually live healthier lives because the minerals run off from the mountain. I was like, I could live and die here. This would be great.
Just be here.
And it wasn't touristy at all. Which that is one of the bad things about cruises. If you do want to be immersed in the culture and whatnot, you're going to ports. You're going to places that are touristy by nature. So this was one of the things we did that was very kind of off that touristy path.
Yeah.
And so the village was very small hometown people that didn't really pay attention to us. It was very nice. And we went up to this restaurant that was in the middle of the mountain, where you got a big beer mug of beer, which of course I didn't drink because I hate beer. But they had a lot of the cuisine was natural stuff from the area. So they had porcini mushrooms and everything. It was glorious.
Well, I think too that was part of the reason why I liked the place where we went in Sicily. Which I think if I tried to pronounce it, I would probably butcher the name. But I will say, I remember the thing about this city, this city, which I mean I can look it up, but I know it was kind of a famous city, but I don't think it is anymore. It basically used to be a place where Hollywood celebrities and people used to go, and they would go to get away. Because it was it just was this very little peaceful, small little village and stuff. And yeah, there weren't a lot. There was people there, but there wasn't a lot. Certainly not as bad as when we were in Rome or Venice. Because there were parts when we were in Venice where it was oh my goodness, there's a lot of people.
Yeah.
And Rome too. Rome, there was parts where it was I'm suffocated with people.
One of my favorite bits about Rome was when we were we should probably try to find a place to eat, and some random dude was just follow me. We went through all these alleys and found a restaurant. Just let's go. And we're what? Just followed down a bunch of back alleys to a restaurant. And we're this is fine.
Yeah. I know. The one that I always quote for some reason from that trip, I don't know why. I think it's just because our Italian tour guide when we were in Rome just really made me laugh. But he was talking about how whenever we went, I guess was right after Easter or pretty close to Easter or something. And he was oh, God, you guys are lucky that you came, a couple weeks after Easter, because it was just Mass. And he's and the Holy Mass is a holy mess. And I just the way that he said it, because he was just talking about what a pain it was and how packed it would get around Vatican City. It just cracked me up. He was a funny guy.
Yeah, he was a good guy.
Yeah.
That's the best pizza I ever had, though, is when he took us to that one place. I can't remember what the fountain's called that everybody crowds, but there's like a little pizza place right there.
Yeah.
And we were like, cool fountain, we're gonna go get pizza.
The Trevi Fountain, that's what it is.
That's what it is.
It's very pretty, but yeah, there's a lot of people.
There's like
crowd
10 stacked people. Like,
crowd around it. I did manage to get somewhat close and take a picture.
just throw a coin and hit someone's head.
I did also like it when we were in France. I will say that. That little
cafe.
cans or cons. I'm not
It's
sure.
cans for some reason.
Cans. It was pretty. I liked the water. That was another one where I was like, oh my gosh, like what is up with this water?
Diet, I swear.
Yeah, what is up with this water? Is that the Mediterranean? Oh my gosh, my culture's coming out. I don't
I'm so
remember.
bad at geography, don't ask me.
I don't remember whatever it is. France, because that was like the part where we were going from Barcelona, France, to Italy. Because we spent like a little time in Barcelona and a little time in France. It wasn't like a lot. So like generally when I talk about this trip, I talk about Italy because we were like really in Italy for a while. But I did like that France place. That France place. Cans. It was pretty. Yeah. I liked the white buildings and then the very, very blue ocean. But this was like sapphire blue. Mm-hmm. It was like...
Well, we kind of just wandered that city because we were like, what do we do here? And there was... The tours they had were like, do you want to see a perfume factory? And we're like, no. And so we're just like, I guess we'll just wander this place. And we went to a little cafe and all got coffees and desserts. And then we just walked around. There's a lot of steps. A lot of stone stairs. And the Bougainvillea was everywhere, which is that pink lining plant that was over the buildings. It's lovely. And you would just see people in their gardens and stuff. Like, even though it was obviously a touristy city, you'd still just see people, normal people living their life. And it was kind of...
Yeah, that city is kind of weird. Like, for people who don't know about it, like, that's like a big Hollywood. Yeah, because they do, like, there's like a film festival that they do there. And I think
that's the only reason why I know it's called Cannes, because it's the Cannes Film Festival. Like,
yeah, and I think, like, when we were there, it had happened, like, somewhat recently. So, like, there were still all these posters and stuff up being like, oh, here's French Spider-Man or whatever. And it's like, okay.
There's a lot of Star Wars stuff. I remember that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember there was something, like, kind of... I was like, why is this here? This is very bizarre. And there was, like... There'd be, like, these big pictures of, like, Star Wars or whatever up. And it's like...
For why?
And then... Well, then it was weird, though, because, like, the city itself is just, like, this little kind of... Like, it's not really even, like, a city. It's, like, this... Like, a town. But, like, just kind of, like, a... Everything in Europe is kind of cute, to be honest. And it's, like, very cute, like, little white stone buildings and stuff. And then just random pictures of Star Wars everywhere. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this information?
Don't go together.
Damn. Okay.
But I think it's pretty predictable that Italy would be one of our favorites.
Yeah, that was, like, the first time that I ever really traveled. Because... My husband and I, for our honeymoon, we did end up doing, like, a little bit of stuff, like, up in Vancouver, which was definitely kind of weird for us, because, like, when I was younger, I didn't do, like, a lot of out west stuff, so anyway, we went over to, like, Vancouver, went to Victoria, we did, like, a few things there, and I really do like Victoria. So, like, for anybody who, if you ever have a chance to go to Victoria, which Victoria is, like, kind of near Vancouver and Seattle, and it's, like, an island off the side. The thing that's, like, kind of cool about it, it's kind of like Great Britain, where, because of the way that the currents are, it stays, like, pretty mild all year long, which means that they get, like, a lot of really cool plants and things that grow there, because they just can, because it's harder for it to just die from the cold and all that. Yeah. And it's very pretty. I don't know what else to say about it other than it's very pretty, and sometime I want to go back, because apparently if you go in the springtime, they have, like, fields of flowers, and people will paint it. Like, it's, like, very famous for, like, painters will go there and paint it, because it's, like, very pretty.
So you want to be one of those painters?
Well, maybe, but I also just want to see it.
I want to see it in person.
I want to see if I am inspired. Like, I was inspired with the tulips.
Yeah.
So we talk about our next trip thing that we did together, which we went to Seattle, which this was different from when I went to Vancouver and stuff. This was a different, separate thing. And this was, 2 years ago? sometime like right before COVID.
The year before COVID.
Something like that. We went to Seattle. Which that one, I don't even honestly really know how that started. I don't remember like why we did that. But
you wanted to see cherry blossoms. I was like, there's tulips there. So we did both.
yeah.
We were a little early for the tulips, a little late for the cherry blossoms.
But we did see both of them.
We did see both.
And when we went to go see the cherry blossoms, okay, so first of all, maybe I should explain this somewhat, but I've wanted to see cherry blossoms for a while, and you can see them in America, but it's either like in Washington, D.C., or you can go to Seattle, and I just had never been to Seattle, so I just thought it would be cool. You have to go to like a specific part of Seattle. I'm pretty sure it's like the Washington campus. I think it was, the Washington campus. And it's like during a certain time of year because that's when it's blooming, which is basically like April to May-ish. And then if you're not in that time period, it won't be there. I mean, it's the same thing in Japan, except for maybe opposite because I can't. No, they're on the same hemisphere as us, so it should still be.
Geography is really killing us this day.
Yeah, you're seeing all of our weaknesses.
Yeah, like geography and spelling, man. I can't do it, but you'll never see my shitty spelling.
Yeah, we're on the same hemisphere as Japan, so yeah, April to May is when they have their cherry blossoms too. So we went there, like kind of in time to see the end of the cherry blossoms. And then I will say it was very pretty because there was cherry blossoms and somebody had a corgi and they kept taking their picture of their corgi and the cherry blossoms.
And I took pictures of them taking pictures of their corgi.
And I was like, what a beautiful moment. This corgi doesn't even understand.
You made this moment for me.
He's just like happy to be alive.
There was also a Samoyed that would play with them and I was like, I love both of these dogs. Give them to me.
This is too much.
Too much of the blossoms, the dogs.
These beautiful Japanese dogs with this beautiful Japanese flower.
I need it.
Oh, well.
No, corgis.
Corgi.
That's
Yeah,
English.
that's true. Okay. That was... No,
Come
that was
on.
definitely a corgi, but okay, yes. Whatever.
The
So
couple was
beautiful.
Asian.
Beautiful dogs. Whatever.
Beautiful
The dogs were beautiful. The people were beautiful. The moment was beautiful.
Everything was glorious.
And I felt good about it. So... But then towards the end of that trip, I mean, we did like a few things that I thought were pretty cool on that trip. Because we also went to a rainforest, which I did like the rainforest. That was like the moment when I'm talking about, you know, the land of the corn and the ugliness. And then you went to the rainforest. You're like walking through there and it is incredible.
Very fantasy realm.
Everything is green in here. Like, you don't even think that like everything can be green and everything is green. Yeah, and it does feel like a fairy fantasy forest.
Yes, I kept, we brought some of her husband's siblings, and, like, I kept going, and that's where the fairy king would lay with you. Because it would just, like, be this glorious, like, scene where it was flat with moss, and the light would be on it. I'm like, there it is. This is where it happens.
There were just parts where, like, you would walk, and it would be, like, a little, I mean, not a lake, but, you know, like a little pond type thing. And you just sit there and just stare at it and be like, this is just so beautiful. And I don't even,
what life's all about.
I don't even know like how to feel. It's just so green, and then the water is so clear, and like, yeah, that was definitely like one of the more pretty places that I've seen.
Yeah.
So go to Seattle, go to the rainforest. It's cool.
Go to Italy. All the places in Italy.
But especially Sicily.
Especially
And,
the Dolomites.
Yeah, the Dolomites. Which Julie vaguely mentioned where they are.
North. Northern Italy. There you go.
Okay.
Which is in Europe. Yep.
This story time
is my turn.
and one of my favorites.
So I realized we haven't told any stories about our pets. Krista and I both have cats. Surprise, surprise. Anyway, well, now we talk about how we love dogs. I think it's fine.
Yeah.
So I have two cats. The one I'm talking about, his Christian name is Septimus.
The one when he was baptized. Julie took her struggling cat and dipped it in water.
He doesn't mind water. I call him Fluff and various other names like Chonk and things like that, but
he is a big cotton ball fluff cat.
Yeah, he's like 14 pounds of fur. He, mountain lynx coat, I think is what it's called, where it's like gray and striped. And he's a Hemingway mix between that and like Siberian. So he's a beast. That's all I can really put it as. I've never seen another cat like him. So, he has multiple toes, all kinds of weird shit. He's an asshole, as most cats are. A lovable one, but he's still a butthole. And like, when I have to take him to the groomer and the vet because he's needy like that, and he just has so much freaking fur. So I had to take him to the vet one day, and he likes car rides because he's weird. And so typically what I do is I bring the carrier so I can bring him into the vet, but I just put him in the car and he just hangs out. So on an average day, when I do that, he'll meow for a minute, climb around, and then just go lay in the back. Like, he's fine. On this day, that did not happen. So he goes outside all the time. I let him outside. I was like, dude, I have to come get you. Like, we gotta go soon. You only got like 10 minutes out there. Of course, because he understands me. And then I went back in and I got ready. And when I came out, I kept calling for him. He was nowhere. So I was like, God, we have to go. Like, I went and walked around. I found him in like one of the thickets, just like sitting there. And I just picked him up. I'm like, we're going. And he growled at me, which was like super fucking weird. I was like, you asshole. Like, I just kind of ignored him. I was like, whatever, you're being a dick. Like, so then I put him in the car. And he would not shut up. It's like feels like 10 minutes down the road. He's like, shut up. I was like, what the fuck is your problem? And then he just gets down on the passenger side floor mat and just poops. Like, right in my car. Because I guess I interrupted his morning bowel movement outside. And then after he pooped, he just went in the back and laid down. Like, that's all I needed. Like, that was the problem. I'm like, okay. So, yeah.
He was just upset because he was like, I have business.
I have to shit.
He was like, I don't care if I have to go to the vet. I have to. It's the morning. You're interrupting me.
Yeah.
Should have let me out earlier. He said, watch.
Come on.
5 minutes.
I needed 5 more minutes.
I do definitely like that about cats. Like, I like that, like, you just have conversations with them. I don't know if dog owners also do this. I'm sure some do. But, like, it's just so natural. Especially, like, my one cat. Because I can talk to him and he will meow back to me.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, a lot of times it is just fun to just, like, say stuff to him and he's like, meow.
Yeah. I talk to Fluff constantly. I'm like, what are you doing? Is that so? Shut up.
I don't know if they have any concept of, like, if they think that they're talking to me too, or, like, if they're just making the noise because they think it's funny. I have no clue, but I find it hilarious.
My cats definitely have different tones for things. Like, Kiki, the little one, back talks me a lot. So, like, she'll come up and she has a horrible, ugly meow. It's, I'm like, what? Like, she gets, like, more aggressive. I'm like, what? Like, I yell at her back. She, like, returns the tone. Or she'll just, like, look me straight in the face. I'm like, okay. What? Why? So my cats definitely have tones where I'm like, shut up. Like, what?
I do find it funny, too, because, like, both of our cats have, the little ones, and the girls have ugly meows, because Viv has an ugly meow, too. Hers is just, like, so deep. It's not terrible, it's just weird. It's not a cute meow. Like, it's very just, like, it's like, she doesn't, like, even, like, make the vocal. It's almost like she just yells.
Yeah.
She's just like,
yeah, Kiki's the Siamese. Like, why are you... And then Fluff is 14 pounds. Like, Kiki is 4 pounds. Fluff is 14 pounds. He has the cutest chirps. Like, like, hi, boy. And then, okay. It's just, they should be reversed. They make no sense.
it's kind of the same way with Mango and Viv, because I think Mango's got a very, like, cute, like, he's very just like, it's very cat-like, but, like, Viv, it's just like, why? You don't make, like, a meow, it's just, you're just yelling.
Your little velociraptor.
You're so angry, you have so much rage. So much rage and anxiety.
Well, Kiki still yells at herself in the mirror, which is just the funniest, weirdest thing. Just stares at not every morning, but like I think it's once a month she'll just get up on the counter and look in the mirror and meow at herself. Like,
I wish she's like horrified by her existence. She's like, this is what I look like.
Maybe she wants to fight herself because she wants to fight everything.
It's amazing for a cat that's 4 pounds that she has so much.
She'll rip your face out.
Okay, so to end this out, I think we'll do like a couple things, and we don't have to like necessarily spend a lot of time on any of these. It just depends on how we feel. Let's start. So in 2020, because of the world being on fire and having a bad time, we didn't really travel or go anywhere, besides maybe like some places like very small, which we can talk about a little bit. But like, what kind of like tips do we have for like, you know, this situation, and like if things continue to get worse or I don't know, stay roughly the same, which isn't really anything, what kind of places would we tell people to go or try to do or to satisfy this?
We're not supposed to recommend they go anywhere, I feel like.
Well, I don't know if there's like a problem with, so like for example, I went somewhere that was like in our state and was like outside, and like I had my mask, and I think like even in one of the places like I just had it like around my neck, and if people got too close I would put it on, but like for the most part I was not around people.
Yeah, I would say probably either somewhere outside like you were saying, but if you're the kind of person that's like, dude, I hate hiking. I mean, I don't know who you are because I've not met people that actively say that. But, like, if the idea of being outside is just another torturous part for you, I would say just look up interesting pieces of places that are within driving distance. Like, there's, like, in Seattle, it is in Seattle. I think there's, like, that troll bridge thing where you can go see this giant epic bridge thing and trolls and the Sasquatch. And so, I mean, even in our land of corn, there's a bunch of places like that that I've never seen because I don't give a shit. But when there's nothing better to do, you might as well get out and go do that. And you can also, like, still support businesses by getting food to go. So you can still go to these places that you've heard about and just get food to go. You lose out on the ambience, but, like, you know, it's something. Mm-hmm. I would say also just learn to relax if you're like me, where you just never shut off. Like, I've had to definitely work on relaxing because it's like I don't have that downtime. I literally don't leave my house, and I work on my house, and then I go to work, or I stay at home and work, and I need that release. Like,
yeah, and I mean, so like another thing I guess too that like you could consider, like that, I mean, basically Julie and I did kind of do, although we didn't necessarily do this intentionally. We started a podcast together, and because of that we sort of became quarantine buddies. Because we just kind of saw each other. And so, like, I think that is a good thing, too. And, like, I think, like, you know, so long as, like, you're not seeing a bunch of people, and, like, if you have, like, 2 people who see each other, and that's, like, really the only people I don't really think that there's a problem with that.
Yeah.
But obviously, this is to everybody's discretion, and you have to do what you feel safe, and, you know, this and that. And I'm not, like, recommending anybody do anything risky, but, like, also, like, I think, you know, mental health is a big thing, too, and, like, you know, I'm sure all of us experienced this thing of just being in the house, sitting, and, like, just so pent up, because it's, like, I can't, like, do anything. And, you know, I'm an introverted person. I do like, you know, my space. I like to be alone. Or not even necessarily to be alone, but like to be within myself and have time within myself, essentially. But like there was a period where I was just like all
sick
anxiety, because it's like the idea of like not even being able to do anything, like even if I wanted to, like that part of it got to me after a while.
Yeah. And I mean, this is the time to dream your big vacation in a way, and like, oh, I'm gonna start this savings account to do this and that. Like, start daydreaming. Daydreaming's perfectly fine. People try to like tell you not to daydream. It's a waste of time. I'm like, no, it's not. It's great. I love daydreaming. I daydream about random shit all the time. So why not daydream about your favorite vacation, or come up with a project to become a painter and aspire to go to Italy. Like, do whatever you gotta do, man.
Yeah, follow your dreams. You know, start a podcast with your
Don't let your
friends.
dreams be dreams. Do it.
Yeah, just
do it.
yeah, if you want to paint, if you want to write, if you want to this or that. And then, like I said, I mean, part of this was supposed to be traveling, but, like, you know, there are, like, the biggest tip I would give, like, about the traveling situation right now is, like, if you can travel to places that are near you, and, you know, it's not obviously, like, a high person situation, like, it's outside, or, you know, you go to, like, a monument where you can look at it from a respectable distance, not super close to people, or, you know,
Don't lick the
stuff like that.
statues.
Yeah, don't lick anything, you know. Be respectful. Or, I mean, you know, especially because, like, so my husband and I, when we were doing some of the things that we did, we went to places, too, where it's, like, you didn't have to, like, go to a hotel. Like, you would go, do your thing, and then you would drive back. And there's plenty of, I'm sure, take a look at your state. I am sure there's plenty of places, either in your state or, like, the adjacent state, where you could go that's, like, a national park or a national whatever, and just go and, like, chill and relax for a little bit. Get a tent. Put the tent out in your backyard. Sleep in the tent. Pretend that you're wherever. Just close your eyes and just...
Imagine.
Yeah.
You got this.
Just come out of your body and stare at your body up from above.
It's a real experience. Well, yeah, if none of that appeals to you and the daydream is all you can manage, what's your daydream, Krista? Daydream vacation, let's go.
Okay, so I have, like, a few. Depends on my mood, depends on, like, what I'm kind of feeling. I definitely want to do things, you know, like Great Britain and Ireland. I talked about that. But I think, like, the more further places I want to go is I would love to go to Japan. I also want to go to, like, the snowy countries. So, like, Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. I've had some people who have gone there, and they've said, like, it's absolutely beautiful. Like, just mountains surrounding, you know, fjords. All that stuff. I want
Fjords.
that. I want to say fjords, and I want
Fjords.
and I want it to be magical and spectacular. And then one of the other ones that I really want to go to is I really want to go to Greece, because if anybody's ever looked it up, look up pictures of Greece. It's very pretty. There are some places in Greece that are, like, so good. I want to go to Greece. But I don't know. I kind of feel like maybe Japan, or another one I do want to go to is Iceland. Iceland's, like, a bit closer, so that one's kind of a little bit more realistic. So.
Yeah, for me, because I'm a very specific person by nature, I already have two of my dreams in plan and course, and that's Ireland, which will be in 2 years. Specifically because I'm turning 30, and I don't want to think about that. So I'm just like, I'm going to Ireland then. It's fine. That's not happening, because I'm just going to Ireland. Like, it doesn't matter.
I'll just ignore that
I'll
other
just
thing.
ignore that thing that may or may not have happened. So, like, that's one. That's my plan. That's the course that's happening right now. And the other one is which funny enough, our next episode will come up. If I ever get married, my honeymoon would definitely be New Zealand. More important than the fucking wedding is the honeymoon to New Zealand. I was like, I will not get married if this is not what is the plan. We are going. So that's why I put, like, my two dream ones are those, because those are, like, there's a ton of other places I'd love to go, just same as you, like, Japan, Iceland. I'd love to do that cruise to Alaska. Of course I'd go to Greece. Like, I want to see Singapore, like, all that kind of stuff, but generally those two are my two, like, these are happening in my lifetime. I
do also have a want to go to New Zealand. It's just that for me, New Zealand kind of scares me just because of how far away it is. Yeah. Like, from where we are is
literally the furthest thing.
Yeah, like, there's, like, pretty much nowhere further. Like, it's probably, if you did it, like, I think in one straight shot, it would be, like, 24 hours. But, like, it's probably going to take you a couple days of flying, which
is why you go to Hawaii for, like, 2 days to rest up,
And maybe some other places. Maybe potentially like Australia.
Maybe in passing.
Just wait.
But
Go.
Lord of the Rings. And Xena.
I know, and it's very beautiful, and like I definitely think it is beautiful. It makes me nervous, especially like even knowing, man, because like the flight to Italy, I will say that was
rough.
That was very rough, and I don't know if I just had a rough time of it because of how I am with sleep in general, but like it really messed me up, and like I actually really because. When we first went on the cruise, like our first stop was in Barcelona, so like I flew to Barcelona. I didn't really get to do anything in Barcelona because I felt bad.
Everyone felt terrible.
Yeah.
It was a bad time.
That
was my mom's first flight ever. And
really?
Yeah, and like she just went, I'm not getting back on that stupid plane. She's like, you leave me here. Like, I'm not getting back on the plane. And my dad and I were like, oh my god. Like, and my dad was in the military. We've never had a flight that we were just like,
really?
I feel like I'm dying. Like,
oh
because me and him are just fine on planes. Like, I can sleep on literally any plane. Could not sleep on that flight and wanted to die. It was the first time I ever threw up in public, and I was mortified at everything. Like, it's a horrible time.
That's weird. I wonder why. Like, we all had such a bad time. That's really strange.
Yeah, we weren't on the same flight.
Yeah, we weren't.
But we were around the same time. Maybe it's just that time.
Did you have a better time going back? Because going back, I didn't have as much
Going back,
problems.
I didn't feel great, but I was definitely a lot better.
Yeah, I think the only thing that was weird about when I went back was wherever we had our first, like, our layover, because we had, like, one layover and then we went back home. I was very weirded out the whole time because of the time difference, and I think it was like bright, but then it was like 6 or something, and like when we had left it had been like bright, so I was like, I think I was like getting to this point where I was like, I'm tired, like I want to go to sleep, but like it's bright outside, it's 6 o'clock, I'm confused. And it was just like this whole thing of like me like feeling like almost like disoriented, like just being
I think we had the opposite problem, because I think we more or less left in the late afternoon, so like sun was going down, and then when we landed it was like 4 in the morning, or it was still dark, like it wasn't morning, we were just like can we just sleep some more, like it's just, and I think it wasn't the red eye, but it kind of was in a way the layover was, so like nobody was there, it was dark. It's kind of like, wake me when we need to get on the plane.
Somewhere we need to go home.
We need to go.
Yeah, and then I think like after that I pretty much just like slept for a day.
Oh yeah. All my stuff just got thrown. I was like passing out now. Did we want to talk? I know some people are anxious about flight. Should we talk about anything since we were
to help? I mean, I had a rough time. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I have these things actually that I just bought, but I don't know if they work yet. Actually, these things are interesting. Okay, I don't know why. Like, now I'm just going to talk about these. I bought these. What are these things called? Does it say on here? Oh, yeah, it does. They're called C-bands. And so, like, basically what they are is there's thing that you can buy. It's supposed to help with nausea. And you wear it, like, at a certain point. Like, you're supposed to wear it, like, here. And it's like an acupuncture point below your wrist. And it's that point is supposed to relieve nausea. And so, like, sailors and things and like people who have problems with nausea will wear them. It's supposed to help. I don't know if this would help on planes, but you could certainly try it. They're like $8 on Amazon.
Worth a shot.
So there's that. There's also attempting to sleep, you know, not eating really crappy.
Don't eat dairy on your goddamn flight. Why they give you dairy is beyond me. I got the like vegetarian meal because I specifically didn't want to eat meat, and it's like a lot of dairy.
Well, I know for me, it's coffee. Like, I have to be careful about coffee. And I think, like, it's because of, like, the altitude and stuff. Like, it'll make me feel sick. I mean, I didn't really have problems with, like, feeling sick, per se. I really think for me it was the time difference. Because I suffered with that, like, the whole, like, basically until, like, we started going back home. Because, like, on that trip, I just kept waking up at random times. Like, for whatever reason, I never got to a point where, like, I adjusted to it. And I've heard people, like, say before that if you're a morning person, it's easier to go like one direction than it is to go to the other. And I don't know if it's just like the direction that we went in the time, if that was what the problem was, but like I never got a handle on it.
My sleep was adjusted before I got there. Like I can always sleep.
The time was really my biggest thing, because I think even like the flight there, I didn't have too much of a problem, although I didn't sleep very well on the plane, but that was more because of conditions on the plane. Like, I'm normally pretty good with sleeping like in weird places. It's just that like, it was like very uncomfortable. It was like very hot. I think also like because they have those TVs, you know, in the back of the screen. For some reason, my husband's or whoever was next to us, whatever, theirs was broken, so it was like bright the whole time, and it, yeah, just wasn't gonna happen.
No, on my flight, like nobody was able to sleep, and a lot of people got sick. Like it was rough, and the turbulence wasn't bad. Like I don't know if it's literally just the altitude change at those ports or something. Like it was a rough time. I did not want to get back on a plane. I was like, no, I'll just live here with my mom, apparently.
Yeah, but weirdly, the one back, I really didn't, like, it was rough for different reasons. It was rough because, well, first of all, I didn't know if I was about to get back on that plane. I don't remember if we talked about this or not, but they, like, messed up my flight, and for some reason, my husband's flight was there. Mine was not. Like, they, like, could not find me in the system or whatever, and so it was like, am I getting, like, I can't, like, what are we gonna do? Like, I can't just stay here, I need to go back. And, they ended up just, like, they found me a seat, but that was, like, a longer flight for one thing. I think it was, like, 13 hours, whereas the first one was, like, 10 or something. And then, so we weren't sitting together. So, in, like, the whole time, there wasn't anything we could do about it. And so, for, like, 13 hours, he was wherever he was, and I was like in the back, and it was weird because like on one side of me was like this couple who was like holding hands and like cuddling the whole time, and then on the other side of me was like this parent who kept swapping places with their kids, and then like one of the kids was having a horrible time. Literally, this flight was 13 hours, spent the whole entire time with her hands over her ears, like 13 hours. And then the other kid, who was like 2, kept doing like weird things like backflips and stuff, and I was just sitting there the whole time like, I'm gonna watch this kid like get a concussion, and there's nothing I'm not mentally prepared for this.
Can't handle this responsibility. You could have just stayed with us. We were there longer. You could be like, fine. I'll just go stay with Julie and her parents.
Well, I mean, they did figure it out, and it ended up being fine. It just was, like, kind of a weird thing, because, like, I definitely paid for that ticket. Like, I knew that I did. It was just, like, why? And the other thing that was weird, too, was, like, my husband's stuff was there. So, like, and I bought ours together. Like, it's not like I bought ours separately. So it's, like, what the shit? Like, like, this physically doesn't make any sense. But, whatever. I got on the plane. I got back. It just was, like, it was very bizarre. And I was in Italy. And I was, like, I don't know what's gonna happen. Like, I don't speak Italian very well.
I'm stuck forever. Well, anyway, on this long tangent, I guess our recommendations for people who are anxious about flying. I've never had any trouble on short flights. Like, even with ones with high turbulence, they don't, like, you're on there for 2 hours, 3 hours, ain't nothing. Doesn't feel like anything. Car rides worse sometimes. So I'd say start with one of those. Like, they're really not that big of a deal. It's easy peasy, and then just note that for these long flights, there could be some rough moments, even for people like Chris and I who are used to flying. I would say if right away you can't sleep, the best thing to do is just to stay up then. Don't try to keep going to sleep. Like, if you can't fall asleep right away, don't bother. It's just going to make you feel worse. Just like when you try to nap and you roll in bed and you're just like, oh god, I feel like crap. Same application, and just watch the shitty movies on the TV for however, just stay up and watch movies, okay? I ended up watching like 3 different WW2 movies unintentionally because I didn't know what they were about.
Yeah, that is the best part, I will tell you. You can just watch like 5 movies, and nobody's gonna judge you. I think like I watched the most recent Cinderella. I think I watched like the Captain Americas. Because I think, like, at that time, I hadn't seen some of them or something. So, like, I watched, like, the first one, and then I watched Winter Soldier, and then I think I maybe watched one of, like, the random other Marvel ones. It's there, so.
I still hadn't managed to watch Justice League, so I watched that, and then I watched The Darkest Hour, and then I watched Black Panther. Like, I kept going back and forth between war movies and comic books. I was like, I don't know.
I think I might have watched one of the Star Wars, too, because, like, it was just there, and I was like, okay, here I am.
Yeah, so store up, like, your marathons. Like, if you're like, I want to watch all the Keanu Reeves movies, just wait for a long flight and have at it.
It is a great time to watch 8 hours of movies.
Yeah.
Because...
what else are you gonna do?
Yeah, it's that. Maybe read, attempt to take a nap if you're able. It was, like I said, on my way back, which this was the one where I watched a lot of movies. That was weird. I don't think I could have napped because, like, it was basically bright outside the whole entire time. It was very, like, mentally confusing. But watching 4 movies, I could do that.
Yeah, people bring books and neck pillows. They aren't used. Like, it doesn't matter how good of a person you think you are. Like, I can't read a book on a fucking plane. There's a TV right there. My elbows, like, I'm not comfortable, so I like to relax when I read. I can't read a goddamn book on an airplane. And I even brought, like, not my iPad. I even brought my Switch to try to play Zelda. And I was just like, I can't, like, you're not comfortable. Like, you can't do these relaxing things you enjoy because you're not in a comfortable space. And so watching movies, you could watch in any position or whatever. Like, it doesn't matter. You're just watching a movie. You can do whatever. So to me, that's the difference. So many people I see like, oh yeah, I bring like 10 books and I read none of them. It's like, yeah, it's because you're not relaxing for real. You're on a fucking plane. If you're not in luxury, then it's kind of sucks. Like,
every once in a while, if I'm really in the mood, I can do Sudoku. But
I can't have a TV.
That is just because it's very distracting, and sometimes I need that. Sometimes, like, if a movie's not distracting enough, sometimes I'm like, I'll do Sudoku, and that'll make me be frustrated in a different way.
I even tried, like, an e-reader. Like, I was like, maybe it's just because I have a book. No, it's literally because I like to be relaxed when I'm reading, and I'm like, this isn't it! This isn't working! Like, you can maybe work. A lot of people work.
Yeah, but, I mean, if you want, like, good practice on it, you know, there's, like, plenty of places that you can go. Like, if you go from, like, coast to coast U.S., that's, like, about 5 hours. I mean, obviously it's different depending on where you go. If you go, like, more, like, across the country, that's probably more, like, 7 hours. But I think those are good practices. So, like, you know, go to, like, Seattle or, like, L.A. or New York or, I guess, what would the other one be? Like, Miami or Disney World?
Yeah, go to Disney World.
Disney World. Go and just, like, practice. It's, you know, and get used to it.
Yeah, just go spend a weekend somewhere. Like, you don't even have to take a big vacation. Just spend a weekend.
And if you get nauseous, remember, Dramamine is your friend. Just buy it.
Yeah.
If you, like, already have, like, car sickness problems, just bring Dramamine.
Yeah. And
just
then
in
drink
case.
ginger ale. Helps as well.
Or get these C-bands and tell me if they work.
Before I tell you, apparently.
I need more practice. I need to be nauseous. That's the thing.
Let's get on a plane! Let's get on a boat! I'm on a boat!
Okay.
I think that's a good place to wrap up. Buy some C-bands and get on a fucking plane, you losers.
Get on a boat.
Get on a boat.
That's a good thing to do during COVID.
Yeah, that's pretty in the middle of nowhere. So, I mean, not a cruise ship. Get on a boat. Regular boat.
Don't go, like, too far out to sea, though, if you don't know what you're doing. Don't die at sea.
Yeah, don't buy our recommendation die at sea. Or if you do, at least write us a letter so we can warn you or something. And that's a wrap, people. This was Passion for Your Passions with Julie
and Krista, where we talked about traveling. In the next episode, we're talking about relationships.
Yeah, it was a bit of an odd one.
It always is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of a Krista episode, kind of.
Yeah, mostly. I'm trying to be a part of it.
Yeah.
Which, do you know how horrible that is? Do you know how horrible it is to have your butt crack and your eyelids?
Like, okay, wait.
So bad.
The inside or the outside of your
Both! Like,